What if I told you reselling could both skyrocket and crash in a recession, and that the real truth lies somewhere in between? Today, we ask the question, is reselling recession proof? Let's start with the bigger picture. The global second-hand market grew by 15% in 2024 and now accounts for roughly 9% of global consumer spend. That's not spare change. Even in a challenging economy, reselling remains relevant. An economic downturn forces consumers and sellers alike to rethink value, margin, sourcing, and risk. And when the stakes are this high, you can't just sit back and hope for the best. You have to understand the forces at play. So what's your move when stock dries up, prices rise, and buyers tighten their belts? Do you retreat and wait for better times? Or do you double down on second-hand and exploit the shifts in consumer behaviour? Here's the first reason to be optimistic in a recession. Value shifts. When prices rise or budgets tighten, people naturally turn to used goods. According to ThreadUp's 2025 report, 59% of consumers say they'll buy second-hand if global tariffs push up new product prices. And for millennials, that rises to an incredible 69%. That's nearly 7 out of 10 younger shoppers pivoting to resale simply because it makes sense financially. And the psychology behind this is, to say the least, fascinating. Spending isn't about numbers on a spreadsheet. It's about narratives. It's about the story people tell themselves about what's smart, what's safe, and what's worth their hard-earned cash. Every news alert about inflation, economic slowdown, or cost-cutting shapes behaviour. Shoppers second guess. Businesses pull back, and suddenly everyone's acting as if recession has already arrived. Just consider for a moment the effect that all the speculation about the upcoming UK November budget is having. Headlines, social commentary, social media chatter, it's enough to make even the most seasoned seller pause. Even a brain-dead idiot can see that uncertainty doesn't do business any favours. To put it simply, markets and investors crave clarity. Without it, confidence wavers, and when confidence wavers, business and growth, to put it bluntly, are kicked in the teeth. If someone can let the Chancellor know that, I'd appreciate it. But here's the twist, or the irony if you prefer. That same institutional perception shift towards recession can actually fuel resale and buck the trend. Media coverage on how to save money or the rise of thrifting, combined with social media feeds packed with influencers showing off vintage finds, turns second-hand from stigma to smart. Reselling doesn't just survive a recession, it rides it. And in some cases, it can whip its backside into an advantage that other sectors actually envy. So bear that in mind when there is talk of recession. The second reason to have confidence in reselling is what I'm calling structural market growth. Online resale in the US alone is expected to nearly double over the next 5 years, reaching $40 billion by around 2030 or thereabouts. That's a huge expansion, and it's been driven by factors far beyond mere economic shifts. For example, younger buyers increasingly expect resale value to be baked into their purchases. Around 41% of the younger generation say they're less likely to buy an item if it doesn't have good resale potential. Just think about that. Your inventory isn't just used, it's part of a circular value proposition. In other words, it's not just a transaction. To the younger generation, it's a story of sustainability, scarcity, and smart consumer behaviour. As an example, in 2024, a part-time reseller I know pivoted their business when the value of fashion fell from selling new to reselling used vintage stock. He focused on rare vintage denim, pricing competitively and adding hashtag resale value to every listing. The result? His sales held up far better than expected, even as traditional fashion sales plummeted. This isn't just luck. It's a deliberate and conscious understanding of what drives consumer behaviour, and more importantly, it's an example of how knowing your market can turn potential risk into tangible reward. The third reason for reselling optimism in a recession is supply and arbitrage opportunities. And if you don't know, the term arbitrage simply means buying low in one place, selling higher elsewhere, and pocketing the difference in profit. It sounds simple because it is, but its potential impact is anything but simple. This is how it can work in a recession. During downturns, big brands slash prices to clear stock, while buyers hunt deals online. That gap, the space between the brand and the consumer, is where you, the reseller, step in. Quality stock becomes temporarily cheaper while the wider consumer market hasn't caught up and still values it higher. Combine this with supply chain uncertainties, fluctuating global tariffs, and sudden disruptions in logistics, and resellers can suddenly have access to stock that traditional retailers won't touch, if they act fast and smart. As a wise man once said, timing, as always, is everything. Of course, reselling isn't risk-free, and in the interest of a balanced video, we need to consider the other side of the recession debate. For example, competition and profit margin pressures are very real concerns. In a recession, the resale market does grow, yes, but the easy money has most likely already been grabbed by those who understood the shifts first. Buyers are smarter, margins shrink, and inefficient sellers soon struggle, as every pricing mistake costs you not just money in a recession, but also valuable time and energy when you can least afford to lose it. Operational costs and platform risks also rise. Shipping costs, platform fees, returns, fraud, and policy changes can all spike during a downturn, cutting directly into your profit margins. So what I'm saying is that reselling isn't just sourcing and listing items, it's running a business efficiently, and anyone who ignores that rule is asking for trouble. To make matters worse, regulatory and tax exposure adds yet another layer of complexity. In the UK, platforms like eBay and Vinted report sellers over certain thresholds to HMRC, or in other words, the taxman, the equivalent of the IRS in the US. And new guidance makes it clear that if you're buying to resell, you're officially trading. That means taxes, compliance, and potential financial penalties. Ignorance of the law in this case isn't bliss. It's potential business catastrophe. So you can't simply hope it won't catch up with you. It almost always does. And the consequences can wipe out months of hard work in a single oversight. My advice, for what it's worth, is to get professional help from an accountant if you think you're anywhere near the tax thresholds. That way you can be sure you're not crossing the line between selling a few of your personal possessions and running a reselling business. So, how can different types of resellers navigate these challenges? Part-time resellers should focus on simplicity, keep track of costs, stay under thresholds, and follow the tax and regulatory rules carefully. Side hustle sellers need to treat their operation like a mini business. Find a clear niche, diversify your platforms, maintain accurate records, and pay close attention to profit and sales limits. Full-time sellers, obviously, have to think like a proper business. They should invest in automation to track returns and focus sharply on sales and return on investment per item. They should secure reliable sourcing channels, maintain cash buffers for cost shocks, manage risk proactively, and treat it like a professional business, because in a recession, half-hearted strategies simply fail. In summary, when the economy dips, The world doesn't stop buying, it just changes how it buys. And I believe that shift is where opportunities lie for resellers. Recession proofing isn't about pretending you're untouchable. It's about being agile, being smart, and being fully aware of any risk before it smacks you firmly in the face. As I've already mentioned, the second-hand market is growing. Consumer habits are evolving, and there's plenty of space for those who do business with purpose and intention. But let's be honest, profits won't just fall into your lap. You have to earn them. Move faster, source smarter, run leaner, and constantly evaluate your position. Those who do these things don't just survive, they come out ahead. This is when reselling stops becoming a fallback or a struggling business and can become a viable, successful, forward-looking business strategy. So here's my question for anyone watching as a reseller. Are you treating your business like it's truly recession-proof, or are you assuming that business as usual will carry you through? Let me know what you think in the comments below. Either way, the world is shifting and the second-hand marketplace is evolving. As a result of this shift, I believe timing, knowledge, and strategy are everything. Smart resellers don't wait for the good times to return. They build for what's next, not what's been. So, to conclude, in my opinion, reselling certainly isn't bulletproof, but with the right mindset, the right strategy, and a willingness to act before others do, reselling could potentially become the smartest business decision you've ever made. That's the reality of the reseller market. It's demanding, it's nuanced, and it rewards those who think critically, act decisively, and understand the psychology, perception, and underlying forces driving their customer decision-making process. I'm Mark. Thanks for watching, and seek Central.